The galaxy had always seemed like a place of order. Millions of stars, planets, and civilizations moved in a rhythm that most believed would never be disturbed. At the center of it all was the Galactic Empire, a massive force that claimed to bring peace to every corner of space. Its fleets were the largest in existence, patrolling star systems, enforcing laws, and crushing any resistance before it could even think of rising. To those who lived under its rule, the Empire was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Its presence was absolute, and few dared to challenge it. Yet far away from the Empire's core, in the outermost reaches of the galaxy, something unusual was stirring. Human ships, small, seemingly fragile, and entirely unpredictable, had begun appearing. They were unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Imperial sensors initially thought they were malfunctions or space anomalies, but reports kept coming in. Strange ships darting through asteroid fields, slipping past patrols, and vanishing before a single shot could hit them. Imperial commanders dismissed these early reports. Humans? They are too primitive, one officer scoffed during a high-level meeting. No species with so little history of space travel can threaten us. These are minor skirmishes, nothing more. But even as the officers spoke with confidence, unease lingered in the corners of their minds. The reports did not stop. On one distant outpost, a young communications officer was the first to notice something odd. Alone in a dimly lit control room, she scanned the incoming signals and noticed patterns in the humans' movements. They were not random. They seemed to think ahead, anticipating patrols and adjusting their path with precision. She marked it in the log, unsure if anyone would care. The Empire had hundreds of outposts reporting daily. A single observation from one officer was rarely considered significant. But the humans did not just move in silence. Stories began circulating about them across sectors. Merchant ships spoke of fleeting encounters with small human fleets that vanished almost as soon as they were seen. Smugglers and explorers told tales of humans laughing in the face of danger, their ships weaving through meteor showers and laser fire with a carefree confidence that baffled even the most experienced pilots. In the central command of the Empire, the High Council sat in a massive room on a planet surrounded by countless satellites. The walls of the council chamber displayed maps of entire star systems, marking fleet movements and recent conflicts. When the first detailed reports about human ships reached them, many dismissed them as exaggerations. The humans were described as tiny vessels, almost playful in how they avoided Imperial attacks. Yet, the detail that kept the council uneasy was not in their size or their firepower, it was in their unpredictability. A senior admiral leaned back in his chair, tapping a finger against the holographic display. "We've faced rebels before, pirates, rogue fleets. This is nothing new," he said. "If they attack, we crush them. That is how we maintain order. That is how we remain the strongest." But another officer, quieter and less confident, spoke up. "Sir, we are seeing patterns here. Their movements are not chaotic. They are deliberate. Even our best fleets have trouble predicting them. If this continues..." His voice trailed off, leaving a weight of uncertainty in the room. Meanwhile, in the farthest reaches of explored space, human crews went about their missions without fear. They were not soldiers of a great empire, nor did they seek glory and conquest. They were explorers, traders, and adventurers, people who had grown up staring at the stars and dreaming of freedom. They had built their ships with care, using designs that were clever rather than powerful. Their vessels were small and fast, easily repaired and equipped with technology that the Empire did not fully understand. Their lives were not about grand battles or heroic victories. They lived for the thrill of discovery, the joy of navigating through the unknown, and the laughter shared when danger passed. When Imperial scouts first encountered them, the humans reacted with amusement rather than fear. Some even broadcasted short messages, teasing the observers in ways that seemed impossible for a species so primitive. Back on the outpost, the young communications officer struggled to make sense of it. She watched as small human ships evaded scanners and moved through asteroid fields with ease. Each report contradicted what the Empire had always believed, that size and firepower guaranteed victory. Humans were proving that cleverness, agility, and courage could change the rules of engagement entirely. It wasn't just their ability to evade detection that unnerved the Empire. It was their attitude. Stories emerged from merchants and minor fleet captains, humans smiling, waving, or sending playful messages over comm channels even when under threat. Some Imperial pilots reported that when they fired upon human ships, the attackers seemed almost to dance between lasers, laughing at every failed strike. By now, the High Council could no longer ignore the situation. The Admiral, who had initially scoffed at the reports, grew restless. If these humans are as clever as we are hearing, they may not be as insignificant as we thought, he admitted during a meeting. We cannot continue to dismiss them. Despite the Council's attention, the humans did not act aggressively. They did not initiate attacks against Imperial outposts or claim territory. They moved with purpose but without malice, pursuing trade, exploration, and communication. Yet their presence alone caused ripples of concern throughout the Empire. For centuries, the galaxy had been stable, held in check by the Empire's dominance. Now, something small and unexpected was challenging the belief that the Empire's rule was absolute. The young officer continued her observations, fascinated. Each day she logged new encounters, new evasions, new instances of human ingenuity. It became clear that these humans were not only surviving, they were thriving in the shadows of the Empire, turning obstacles into opportunities with a sense of humor that no Imperial protocol could predict. In quiet moments, some officers began to wonder what it would mean if the humans were allowed to grow. Could they become more than just a nuisance? Could their unpredictability one day challenge the very fleets that patrolled the stars? For most, the thought was dismissed. Yet a seed of doubt had been planted, a seed that would not easily die. Meanwhile, the humans, unaware of the fear they were sowing, laughed and carried on. They traded, explored, and shared stories of their encounters. Every near miss with an Imperial fleet became a tale of clever maneuvers and lucky escapes. Their laughter, simple and human, echoed across the comm networks, a sound that would later become infamous among Imperial forces. And so, in the quiet corners of space, the galaxy began to change without realizing it. A small fleet of humans, moving with freedom and joy, had begun to challenge centuries of assumed order. The Empire, vast and powerful, had yet to learn that its greatest threat was not strength, strategy, or technology. It was the audacity and ingenuity of beings who refused to be intimidated. The first part of this story was not marked by grand battles or heroic deaths. It was marked by curiosity, observation, and the slow realization that even the mightiest power could be unsettled by something small, clever, and utterly human. The galaxy, vast as it was, had yet to witness what these humans were capable of, but the first whispers had already begun, carried from outpost to outpost of ships that moved like shadows, survived like ghosts, and laughed like no one had ever dared. The Empire had assumed the galaxy would obey, that all would bow to its might. But as those human ships moved silently through the darkness, the first cracks in that certainty began to show. In the far reaches of space, far from the center of the Galactic Empire, a group of human ships traveled together, quietly exploring uncharted star systems. Their vessels were small and agile, designed for speed and clever maneuvers rather than brute strength. Inside the control rooms, humans worked together seamlessly, each one understanding their role, anticipating challenges, and adapting quickly. They were not soldiers in the traditional sense, nor were they seeking glory. Their mission was simple: explore, survive, and learn. Yet unknown to them, their actions were about to set off a chain of events that would shake the Empire to its core. It began with a routine patrol. A small Imperial squadron, consisting of some of the most experienced pilots in the Empire, was sent to investigate reports of human ships in a sector previously considered quiet. The patrol approached cautiously, scanning every asteroid belt, nebula, and dark space corridor for any sign of life. Sensors picked up faint signatures, unusual energy readings that did not match any known technology. The humans noticed them first, of course. Their ships, though small, were equipped with sensors fine-tuned for detecting movement in space. They realized immediately that they were being observed. But rather than panic, the human crews laughed quietly at the situation. There was no fear in their eyes, only curiosity and amusement. One of them even made a comment over the comm system, joking about how predictable Imperial ships were. It was a small joke, a human moment, but it carried far into the Empire's fleet sensors. As the Imperial patrol drew closer, they expected an easy confrontation. They had weapons far more powerful, shields far stronger, and tactics that had been perfected over decades. They assumed the humans would panic, would scatter, and would be quickly destroyed. What they did not expect was that the humans moved like dancers, weaving through the void with a grace that seemed impossible. The humans used asteroid fields, debris, and even the gravity of small moons to their advantage, slipping past scanners and dodging attacks as if they had predicted every move. The patrol fired upon the human ships, unleashing beams and missiles that could destroy entire planets if fully charged. Yet the humans avoided each strike with near impossible precision. Every time an Imperial pilot thought they had a target locked, the human ship would vanish, leaving nothing behind but faint trails of exhaust and the laughter of the crew over encrypted channels. By the time the patrol realized they were being outmaneuvered, it was too late. One of the human ships fired back, not with raw power but with clever tactics. Small energy bursts hit the patrol ship's sensors, temporarily blinding them and creating confusion among the fleet. Ships collided, shields flared, and communications jammed. What was meant to be a simple scouting mission turned into a chaotic retreat. The human ship slipped away unharmed, leaving the Imperial squadron shaken and angry. When the report reached the Empire's high command, the reaction was disbelief. Senior officers could not understand how a few small human ships had so thoroughly outmatched a patrol designed to enforce Imperial control. The story of the encounter was met with skepticism, accusations of incompetence, and even laughter from some council members who refused to believe such a thing could happen. Yet for those who had seen the humans in action, the fear was real. Something about these beings, their intelligence, their unpredictability, and their lack of fear was deeply unsettling. The humans themselves did not celebrate victories in the traditional sense. There were no parades, no speeches. Their joy was simple and quiet, expressed in the small smiles, laughter, and camaraderie that filled their control rooms. They shared stories of near misses, clever maneuvers, and small moments of triumph with one another. For them, survival was a game, a challenge, and a chance to prove their skills against forces that seemed larger and stronger. Every encounter with Imperial forces was an opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow. In the following weeks, encounters continued. Imperial fleets were sent to other sectors expecting similar victories. Each time they underestimated the humans. The humans were clever, using strategies that the Empire could not predict. They struck where the Empire was weakest, avoided where it was strongest, and often disappeared before the full might of the Imperial fleet could be brought to bear. Stories of their escapades spread quickly across the galaxy, carried by traders, explorers, and even Imperial defectors who marveled at their skill. In one particularly close encounter, a human squadron found themselves surrounded by a much larger Imperial force. There seemed to be no way out. Yet instead of panic, the humans worked together with precision and calm. They split their formation, used the terrain of space to hide, and communicated in ways that confused the enemy. Imperial ships fired relentlessly, but the humans stayed one step ahead, slipping through narrow gaps and using small bursts of energy to create temporary diversions. When the fleet finally broke contact, the Imperial commanders were left stunned. Their advanced weapons had barely touched a single human ship. For the humans, the experience was exhilarating. They laughed together, sharing the story of how they had played tag with the most feared fleet in the galaxy and survived. Their laughter, carried across comms, became a symbol of their courage and creativity. It was not arrogance, nor was it cruelty. It was simply the human way, facing danger with a mixture of bravery, cleverness, and humor. Back in the Empire, the response grew more serious. Reports of human ships were no longer dismissed as minor skirmishes. Senior commanders convened meetings, debating how to handle a species that seemed impossible to defeat using conventional tactics. Some argued for overwhelming force, sending hundreds of warships to crush the humans in one decisive strike. Others warned that brute force alone would not succeed. "They are clever," one officer said quietly, "and they do not fight like anyone else. We cannot predict them, and we cannot rely on our usual strategies. The council struggled to find a solution. Every plan seemed flawed, every assumption about human behavior challenged. For the first time, they faced uncertainty in a galaxy where they were used to control. The humans were not simply ships or technology. They were thinking, adapting, and in a strange way enjoying the challenge. And that, perhaps more than anything else, terrified the Empire. Meanwhile, the humans continued their exploration. They traveled from one star system to another, mapping new routes, collecting resources, and learning about the universe around them. They encountered strange planets, mysterious phenomena, and other species that had never seen humans before. Each experience added to their knowledge and skill, making them even more resourceful and resilient. They were not perfect. Mistakes happened. Some ships took damage, some crews faced real danger, and some moments were genuinely frightening. But the humans always found a way forward. They adapted, improvised, and supported each other. Every challenge was met with creativity, and every obstacle became a lesson for the future. By the end of this period, it was clear that the humans were more than just lucky. Their resilience, intelligence, and teamwork made them a force that could not be easily defeated. The Empire, vast and powerful, had never faced anything like this. And yet the humans themselves remained unaware of the fear they were causing. To them, life was a journey filled with challenges, laughter, and the joy of exploration. Even as Imperial fleets gathered, plotting the humans' destruction, the humans carried on with their adventures. Their movements became legendary, tales of their escapes told in hushed voices in ports across the galaxy. For many, it seemed impossible that being so small and ordinary could challenge the most powerful military force in existence. And yet they did. The second part of this story was not about conquest or rebellion. It was about the first real test, the first time humans and the Empire faced each other in a meaningful way. It was a story of cleverness, teamwork, and the quiet courage of those who refused to be intimidated. The humans had no desire to rule the galaxy, and yet, by simply surviving, they had begun to challenge the very idea that the Empire was invincible. As the humans traveled further, learning and laughing together, the galaxy watched silently. The Empire, once confident in its absolute power, now faced a species that could not be predicted, controlled, or feared in traditional ways. And somewhere in the dark reaches of space, human crews laughed together, knowing that their greatest strength was not their ships or weapons, but their minds, their hearts, and their unbreakable spirit. The stories of human ships and their daring escapes had begun to spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Traders, smugglers, and explorers whispered about them in quiet corners of spaceports. Some laughed at the tales, thinking they were exaggerated. Others shivered, realizing that these small, unassuming humans could do what no one else dared attempt. In the vast halls of the Galactic Empire, the reports caused serious concern. For centuries, the Empire had ruled with certainty. Its fleets patrolled the stars, its law enforced through power, and its enemies crushed before they could rise. Now an unpredictable species seemed to challenge everything the Empire believed about control and order. The High Council met again, this time in urgency. The massive chamber hummed with tension as officers discussed strategies to counter the humans. Every plan they suggested was dismissed as insufficient. One officer argued for brute force, proposing that hundreds of warships be sent to locate and destroy every human vessel in the sector. Another warned that such an approach would be wasteful. These humans do not behave like anyone else, he said. They do not fight like our usual enemies. We cannot predict them. We cannot trap them. We cannot simply overpower them. A younger officer who had been observing reports from the frontier added quietly, "They are not only clever, they are fearless. Even when outnumbered, they do not panic. They adapt, and sometimes they laugh. That is something we cannot calculate." His words caused a murmur among the council members. Laughter in the face of danger was not just unusual, it was threatening. It suggested a confidence and a freedom the Empire had never encountered. Meanwhile, the humans continued their missions in the outer sectors, unaware of the worry they caused. They explored strange planets with unfamiliar terrain, navigated asteroid belts with skillful precision, and documented anomalies in space that no one had studied before. Every day was an adventure, filled with small discoveries and quiet triumphs. Their lives were not about fighting the Empire, but about curiosity, survival, and enjoying each moment they had in the stars. One day, a human squadron detected a sudden increase in Imperial patrols nearby. The humans did not panic. Instead, they analyzed the situation calmly. They split their formation, sending some ships to create distractions while others quietly gathered information. Using asteroid fields, small moons, and the shadows of derelict stations, they moved undetected, slipping past the sensors that were supposed to track them. Imperial pilots grew frustrated. No matter how many scans they ran, no matter how many probes they sent, the humans seemed always one step ahead. Reports came in of small energy pulses, clever maneuvers, and unexpected disappearances. Imperial commanders began doubting their own strategies, questioning the training and experience that had always been their greatest advantage. The humans' strength was not in their ships or weapons. Their strength was in teamwork, creativity, and intuition. Each crew member had a role, and each one knew how to respond to changes in the environment. When an obstacle appeared, they adapted immediately. When an attack came, they anticipated and countered it. When danger threatened, they remained calm and found a way forward. It was not the power of their technology, but the intelligence and courage of the humans that allowed them to survive. There was one particular incident that became legendary in whispers among both humans and Imperials. A group of human ships was traveling through a dense asteroid field when an Imperial fleet appeared on sensors, surrounding them from 3 directions. The humans had no chance in a direct fight, but instead of panicking, they acted with speed and ingenuity. Some ships used small bursts of energy to create false trails, confusing the enemy. Others used the gravity of nearby asteroids to change direction in ways that seemed impossible. Within minutes, the humans disappeared, leaving the Imperial fleet confused and frustrated. No ship was lost and no human was harmed. Back in the Empire, frustration grew. Imperial officers could not understand how a few small ships could outmaneuver an entire fleet. Strategies that had worked for decades now failed. The humans were not only surviving, they were thriving in the chaos. And they did so with a calm confidence that unnerved even the most experienced commanders. Some officers began to fear that underestimating humans could lead to more serious consequences in the future. The humans themselves did not see themselves as heroes. They did not fight for fame or recognition. They simply acted according to their nature, clever, resourceful, and fearless. Their laughter during encounters was not mockery. It was relief, joy, and the human way of coping with danger. They shared stories of their escapes, joked about near misses, and celebrated clever maneuvers. Each encounter strengthened their bond as a team, making them even more resilient. As news of these incidents spread, some of the Empire's citizens began to question what they had been taught. The humans were small, yet they had outwitted fleets that were supposed to be unbeatable. They had no superweapons, no armies of thousands, yet they survived against all odds. For the first time, ordinary people began to wonder, could the humans actually challenge the Empire? Could they be more than a nuisance? Imperial propaganda tried to dismiss these stories, labeling the humans as mere pests, exaggerations, or lucky accidents. Yet the reports continued to arrive, each one more remarkable than the last. Traders who had seen human ships with their own eyes spoke with conviction. Pilots who had nearly fired on them admitted they were outmatched. Even some Imperial commanders who had fought humans personally could not deny their skill. In the outer sectors, the humans continued their exploration. They discovered planets rich in resources, mapped new travel routes, and recorded phenomena that were completely unknown to the rest of the galaxy. Each discovery made them more confident, more capable, and more prepared for whatever the future might hold. Their success was not just about surviving Imperial fleets, it was about learning, adapting, and thriving in a universe that was vast, unpredictable, and full of danger. One evening, a group of human ships gathered near a small, rocky planet. The crew shared stories of the day's adventures, laughing at mistakes, celebrating clever moves, and enjoying the simple pleasure of being alive. The stars stretched endlessly above them, a reminder of the infinite possibilities ahead. For them, life was about exploration, courage, and connection. They did not seek to conquer. They did not seek to dominate. They simply lived, and in doing so, they proved that even the smallest and simplest beings could challenge the greatest power in the galaxy. Meanwhile, the Empire scrambled to respond. New strategies were drafted, fleets repositioned, and commanders argued about the best way to deal with humans. Every new plan seemed to fail when tested against the unpredictability of the humans. The more the Empire tried to control or predict them, the more the humans proved that control was impossible. And yet the humans remained unaware of the fear they caused. Their lives continued, simple and focused on exploration, teamwork, and the small joys of being human. In a quiet moment, one Imperial officer admitted to a colleague, "We are facing something we cannot understand. They are not the enemy in the way we think of enemies. They are different, they are unpredictable, and that is dangerous for us." The colleague nodded silently, understanding that the humans' greatest strength was not in weapons or numbers, but in the very nature of being human, clever, adaptable, and unafraid. The humans moved from system to system, learning, laughing, and surviving. Each day brought new challenges, new discoveries, and new opportunities to test their skills. They did not seek glory, yet their actions were legendary. They did not seek to fight, yet their cleverness made them formidable. And through it all, they remained connected to each other, relying on teamwork, trust, and the shared understanding that together, they could face anything. By the end of this period, it was clear that the humans had changed the balance of power, if only slightly. The Empire, for all its size and strength, had encountered a species that could not be easily controlled. A species that could outthink, outmaneuver, and survive against impossible odds. A species that laughed in the face of danger and, in doing so, reminded the galaxy that intelligence, courage, and creativity were just as powerful as firepower and numbers. And so, the story continued. The humans moved on, unaware of the storm they had begun to create. The Empire, once confident in its absolute control, faced a challenge unlike any it had ever known. And somewhere in the endless expanse of stars, human crews laughed together, planning their next adventure, exploring the unknown, and proving that even the smallest, simplest beings could change the course of history. The humans had grown bolder. For months they had traveled the outer sectors, exploring, learning, and laughing at the dangers they faced. Every encounter with the Empire had made them smarter, faster, and more confident. And now they were ready to take their adventures a little closer to the heart of Imperial space. They did not plan to attack. That was never their intention. They moved carefully, studying patrol routes and supply lines, noting weak points in Imperial defenses. But while their goal was observation and survival, their very presence in these sectors caused alarm. Imperial governors, commanders, and fleet officers had been warning the High Council about human activity for months. But seeing the humans so close to core space brought fear to a new level. Imperial fleets were deployed in response. Hundreds of warships gathered to intercept the humans before they could reach vital systems. For the Empire, it seemed like the perfect opportunity. Finally, they would crush the humans with overwhelming power and put an end to this challenge once and for all. The fleets moved in formation, disciplined and confident. Imperial officers had decades of experience in command. They believed nothing could escape their reach. But the humans did not panic. From the very first sight of the massive Imperial fleet, they adapted. Their ships were smaller, but that was an advantage. They could move quickly, dodge attacks, and take risks that larger vessels could not. They split their formation into groups using asteroid fields, debris clusters, and the shadow of uninhabited planets to hide their movements. The humans did not see themselves as underdogs. They saw themselves as explorers, using the environment to their advantage. The first clash occurred near a dense asteroid belt. Imperial ships detected human movement and fired upon them, expecting quick victories. But the humans were already ready. Small bursts of energy temporarily blinded the enemy sensors, creating confusion. Ships slipped through gaps between massive rocks, twisting and turning in ways the Imperial pilots could not predict. Missiles and lasers sailed past empty space as the humans disappeared and reappeared, always one step ahead. Imperial officers were shocked. The fleet had trained for years using the best strategies, technology, and intelligence. Yet these humans, who had never fought a battle in the conventional sense, were outmaneuvering them with creativity and teamwork. Frustration grew into panic in some sectors. No one could predict where the humans would appear next or how they would act. Despite the chaos, the humans maintained their focus. They did not fire aggressively. They used only what was necessary to protect themselves. One ship created a diversion, drawing fire away from the main group. Another sent small energy pulses that temporarily disrupted enemy targeting systems. Each action was deliberate, coordinated, and clever. It was not strength that carried them through. It was ingenuity. At one point, an Imperial warship attempted to corner a human vessel near a narrow passage between two small moons. The humans, far from being intimidated, executed a risky maneuver. They used the gravity of the moons to slingshot their ship through a narrow gap, flipping and twisting in space, and emerged completely behind the Imperial ship. The Imperial crew could hardly believe what they saw. The humans did not shoot to kill. They simply waved through comm channels before disappearing into the distance. This pattern repeated across the sector. Every encounter left Imperial forces frustrated, confused, and increasingly concerned. The humans were not just surviving. They were teaching the Empire a lesson in unpredictability. Every fleet, no matter how large, found it difficult to anticipate their next move. The humans had a rhythm the Empire could not calculate, and their calm confidence only made it worse. For the humans, life was not about fighting. It was about adapting, surviving, and enjoying every moment of the challenge. They laughed when they narrowly escaped, joked about their clever tricks, and celebrated every small success. To them, danger was a game of wit, a puzzle to solve, and an opportunity to grow stronger. Every encounter with the Empire made them better at thinking on their feet, planning quickly, and trusting one another. One human pilot shared a quiet moment with a teammate as they navigated a dense field of asteroids. "They're trying so hard," the pilot said with a smile. "They think they can scare us, but they don't understand how we move. We're not just ships. We're people. We think differently. We survive differently." The teammate nodded, eyes focused on the sensors. "And we always will," they said, calm but determined. Back in the Empire, commanders debated heatedly. Some argued that brute force was the only way to stop the humans. "We must overwhelm them," one officer shouted. "Firepower is all that matters. Send every fleet we have and crush them." Another countered, "Force alone will not work. They are clever. They adapt. Every plan fails because we try to fight them like normal enemies. We must think differently or we will lose more ships and men." Even as the council argued, humans continued their exploration. They mapped hidden routes through the asteroid belts, recorded energy anomalies that the Empire had never seen, and studied the behavior of Imperial fleets from a safe distance. Their presence in core space became legendary. Stories spread among traders, smugglers, and ordinary citizens about small ships that appeared, disappeared, and laughed in the face of overwhelming odds. Some citizens began to admire the humans. They told tales of human bravery and cleverness in hushed tones, imagining what it would be like to face such challenges without fear. Even some minor Imperial officers secretly respected the humans' skill, though no one dared admit it publicly. The humans had changed the perception of what was possible. They were small, unassuming, and ordinary, but they were extraordinary in their actions. The humans' greatest strength was not just strategy, it was their unity. Each crew knew that their survival depended on the others. Every decision was made together. Every risk was calculated with trust. When one ship was cornered, the others created openings. When one pilot made a daring move, the team adjusted instantly. Their connection, their understanding of one another, and their willingness to take risks made them almost impossible to defeat. By now, the Empire realized that these humans could not be fought in the usual way. The vast fleets, advanced technology, and experience of Imperial officers were no match for creativity, teamwork, and courage. Every new encounter proved that predictability was a weakness, and humans thrived where the Empire relied on predictability. Even as fleets regrouped and prepared for another encounter, humans continued their journey undeterred. They traveled deeper into the sectors, gathering knowledge, exploring new planets, and enjoying the thrill of their adventures. Every encounter with the Empire made them smarter, more confident, and more aware of their own capabilities. There were no celebrations for victories, no speeches or medals. Humans did not need them. Their joy came from survival, cleverness, and shared laughter. They did not fight to dominate. They fought to live, to explore, and to prove that ordinary beings could do extraordinary things. The Empire, meanwhile, struggled to keep control. Each failed attempt to capture or destroy human ships became a blow to confidence. Officers who had once believed in absolute power now questioned their understanding of strategy. Their fear grew quietly, as did respect for the humans' ingenuity, and so the humans moved on. Every day brought new challenges, new lessons, and new victories in their own way. They remained focused on survival, exploration, and the joy of living in a vast and unpredictable universe. The Empire's forces, though larger and stronger, could not predict or match the humans' cleverness. By the end of this chapter, it was clear. Humans had proven that they could challenge even the most powerful force in the galaxy, not with firepower or fleets, but with courage, intelligence, and unity. The Empire had yet to understand the true strength of these ordinary beings who dared to laugh in the face of danger, adapt to impossible situations, and keep moving forward no matter what. The story of Part 4 was one of clever survival, daring maneuvers, and teamwork. Humans had shown that bravery, ingenuity, and trust in one another could turn the odds in their favor. The galaxy was watching, and the Empire was learning that there were forces it could not control. Not through weapons, not through fear, but through the indomitable spirit of human beings. The humans had traveled far and wide, learning more about the galaxy with every passing day. They had survived patrols, outmaneuvered fleets, and explored places no one else dared go. But now, for the first time, they faced the heart of the Empire itself. A massive Imperial fleet had been assembled in one of the central sectors, the most heavily guarded area of space, and the humans were heading straight into it, not with fear, but with the same calm determination that had guided them through every challenge so far. The Imperial fleet was immense. Hundreds of warships, each equipped with weapons capable of destroying planets, moved in formation. Shields shimmered across the void of space, and command channels buzzed with orders. Every pilot, officer, and engineer believed this would be the day the humans were destroyed. They had overwhelming numbers, superior technology, and experience that spanned generations. Surely, they thought, this time the humans could not survive. Yet the humans did not see themselves as underdogs. They had faced impossible odds before and survived. They had learned to move quickly, think creatively, and work together. Every crew member understood their role, and every pilot trusted the others completely. They did not panic. They did not hesitate. They adapted. As the humans approached the edge of the Imperial fleet, they split into smaller groups, each moving through different corridors of space. One group flew near a dense cluster of asteroids, using the rocks to hide from sensors. Another group moved close to a gas giant, letting the swirling clouds conceal their movements. Small bursts of energy disrupted the targeting systems of the Imperial ships, creating confusion and opening paths for escape. The first clash was sudden and intense. Imperial weapons fired, beams cutting across space, expecting to hit targets easily. But the humans had anticipated this. They weaved between asteroids, used gravitational pulls to swing in unexpected directions, and communicated silently with each other to coordinate maneuvers. Missiles passed harmlessly, lasers hit empty voids, and the humans laughed quietly over comms, not mockingly, but in relief and shared joy at surviving once more. Imperial commanders were stunned. They had never seen tactics like this. Their training emphasized brute force, precision targeting, and overwhelming numbers. But the humans ignored the rules. They were unpredictable, moving in ways that seemed almost impossible. Ships split off, rejoined, disappeared behind debris, and reappeared where no one expected them. Every Imperial officer realized quickly that they were dealing with something beyond ordinary strategy. One human ship took a daring risk. Cornered by 3 Imperial cruisers, it made a sudden dive toward a narrow asteroid tunnel. The pilots twisted the ship in ways the larger Imperial vessels could not follow. As the cruisers tried to adjust, the ship slipped out the other side, firing a small energy pulse that temporarily blinded one of the cruiser's sensors. The humans did not seek to destroy the fleet. They simply wanted to survive. Yet their cleverness left the Imperial commanders angry, frustrated, and increasingly worried. The humans' greatest advantage was their teamwork. Each decision was made collectively. Every pilot knew the other's strengths and weaknesses. When one ship was threatened, the others created diversions or openings. When one crew spotted an opportunity, the rest adjusted instantly. It was a dance of precision, courage, and trust. The Empire had never faced anything like it. Numbers, firepower, and advanced technology could not match intuition, coordination, and fearlessness. The humans also understood that the environment was their ally. They used debris fields, asteroid belts, and even the pull of nearby planets to manipulate their speed and trajectory. Imperial sensors could not track them reliably, and every attempt to trap them failed. Even in the heart of Imperial space, they seemed untouchable. One human pilot peering through a control screen at the massive fleet ahead whispered to a teammate, "They think they've trapped us, but they don't understand how we move. We're not just flying ships, we're thinking, reacting, and working together, and that makes all the difference." The teammate nodded, eyes focused on the sensors, ready to react at a moment's notice. Imperial officers scrambled to respond. They tried splitting their fleets, setting traps, and coordinating attacks. Every plan was met with human ingenuity. Ships slipped past blockades, dodged traps, and emerged from unexpected directions. Imperial weapons misfired or hit empty space. Communication channels were clogged with confusion as officers struggled to understand what was happening. The humans did not attack recklessly. They were cautious, precise, and clever. When they fired, it was to protect themselves, create diversions, or disable key systems temporarily. They had learned that survival was more important than destruction. Every clever maneuver, every narrowly avoided collision, every moment of laughter among crew members reinforced their confidence. One particular encounter became a story that would be whispered across the galaxy for years. A small group of humans trapped in a corridor between a massive moon and an Imperial cruiser faced almost certain destruction. The cruisers moved to block escape routes, weapons locked on, shields at maximum. The humans, in unison, executed a daring plan. They split their formation, using the gravity of the moon to swing one ship behind the cruisers while the others created false signals to distract the fleet. Within moments, the humans had vanished, leaving the Imperial commanders dumbfounded. No ship was lost, and not a single human was harmed. As news of these events reached the Empire's citizens and minor officers, reactions varied. Traders marveled at the humans' cleverness. Ordinary citizens whispered about small ships that seemed to dance around Imperial fleets. Even some Imperial officers secretly admired the humans' bravery and ingenuity, though none would admit it publicly. The humans were proving that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could surpass even overwhelming force. The humans' strength lay in their unity and adaptability. Every pilot, navigator, and crew member understood that their survival depended on the group. They coordinated seamlessly, adapted instantly to new threats, and trusted one another completely. They treated danger as a challenge, not a threat. Every successful escape reinforced their confidence, making them more daring and resourceful. Meanwhile, the Empire struggled. Each failed attempt to capture or destroy the humans became a blow to morale. Commanders who had relied on superior technology and numbers now realized that neither could guarantee victory. The humans' unpredictable strategies, combined with their courage and teamwork, challenged the very foundation of the Empire's confidence, and yet, the humans themselves remained unaware of the fear they inspired. They did not seek fame or glory. They did not want to rule or dominate. They simply moved forward, exploring, learning, and surviving in a galaxy filled with unknown dangers. Their joy came from clever thinking, shared experiences, and the thrill of surviving against impossible odds. As the confrontation continued, it became clear that the humans could not be defeated in the usual way. The Empire could bring all its power, all its technology, and all its experience. But the humans had something the Empire could not calculate: intuition, adaptability, and the courage to take risks that others would never attempt. Every encounter left the humans wiser, more capable, and more confident. By the end of this chapter, it was clear: humans had survived a massive Imperial fleet in the heart of core space. They had done so not by firepower, not by numbers, but by teamwork, creativity, and sheer courage. The Empire, vast and powerful, had been challenged in a way it had never faced before. The story of Part 5 was a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. The humans had proven that even against overwhelming odds, cleverness, trust, and bravery could turn the tide. Their laughter in the face of danger, their calm under pressure, and their unity had become their greatest weapons. The galaxy had begun to notice. Stories of the humans spread across systems, inspiring admiration, fear, and curiosity. The Empire, once confident in its invincibility, now faced a species it could not fully understand or predict. And somewhere in the darkness of space, human crews laughed together, planning their next move, exploring new stars, and proving that courage and cleverness were forces no one could ignore. The battle in the heart of the Empire had ended, but the ripples of what had happened spread across the galaxy. Humans had faced one of the largest Imperial fleets ever assembled and had survived. They had moved with skill, courage, and intelligence, turning impossible situations into triumphs. For the Empire, the loss was more than material. It was a blow to confidence, a crack in the illusion of control that had held the galaxy in fear for centuries. Imperial commanders gathered once again in their massive chamber, the hum of machinery and holographic maps filling the air. They could not deny what had happened. Reports from multiple fleets confirmed it. Humans had survived against overwhelming odds, outmaneuvered their forces, and vanished without a single ship lost. Some officers refused to believe it at first, thinking the reports exaggerated, but the evidence was undeniable. Their pride had been shaken. The council argued late into the cycle. Some called for retaliation, for sending even larger fleets to crush the humans. Others argued it was pointless. We cannot predict them. We cannot trap them. We cannot fight them as we would fight normal enemies. One officer said quietly, "They are not like anyone we have faced. This species, they do not behave like us. They do not fear. They do not obey. They adapt. And that makes them dangerous in ways we cannot control." The humans, meanwhile, were unaware of the storm they had caused. After surviving the massive fleet, they continued their journey, moving from one star system to another. They explored planets rich with life, mapped routes through asteroid belts, and documented strange cosmic phenomena that no one else had ever studied. They traveled not for conquest or revenge, but for curiosity, survival, and the quiet joy of discovery. Even in the core sectors of Imperial space, humans remained cautious, but confident. They avoided unnecessary conflict, yet their cleverness ensured they were never trapped. Every maneuver, every plan, and every decision showed their intelligence, resourcefulness, and trust in one another. They did not need to fight aggressively to survive. Their ingenuity, teamwork, and calmness under pressure were enough. Stories of their adventures spread quickly. Traders and explorers spoke of ships that seemed to vanish into thin air, of crews that laughed while outmaneuvering fleets hundreds of times their size, and of humans who could survive where no one else dared go. Even among Imperial citizens, tales of the humans inspired awe. Some were fearful, some skeptical, but many were fascinated by the courage and cleverness of these beings. Humans were no longer just a curiosity. They had become a symbol of resilience. Their survival against impossible odds showed that intelligence, teamwork, and creativity could triumph over sheer strength and technology. In quiet moments, humans themselves reflected on what they had accomplished. They had faced danger repeatedly, yet they had never lost their spirit. Every escape, every clever maneuver, every laugh shared among crew members had strengthened their confidence and their bond. One pilot, sitting in a small observation room aboard their ship, looked out at the stars and said quietly, "We didn't win because we are stronger. We won because we think differently, we trust each other, and we never gave up. That is what makes the difference." A teammate nodded, understanding the truth in the words. The galaxy might be vast and dangerous, but together, humans could face it. The Empire, however, was forced to rethink its approach. Its vast fleets and advanced technology were formidable, but they were not enough to control humans. Officers realized that predicting human behavior was impossible. Even when cornered, humans adapted and survived. Even when outnumbered, they moved with courage and cleverness. And most importantly, they did not fear. Fear had always been a tool the Empire used to maintain order, but humans were immune. In the aftermath of these events, Imperial propaganda struggled to maintain its influence. Citizens and minor officers began questioning what they had been taught. The humans, small and seemingly ordinary, had survived where the most powerful fleets had failed. They had moved through Imperial space, outsmarted commanders, and avoided destruction without any desire for power. The story of their audacity spread across systems, inspiring whispers of admiration and doubt alike. Even in their small ships, humans continued their journey. They explored uncharted systems, documented strange and beautiful planets, and encountered phenomena no one had seen before. They shared their discoveries, laughed at mistakes, and celebrated clever maneuvers with one another. Their strength was in their humanity, their courage, intelligence, creativity, and the bonds they shared. Humans also influenced other species. Small civilizations that had lived in fear of the Empire began to take note. Some dared to explore more freely, inspired by human survival and ingenuity. The humans had shown that fear and oppression were not absolute, that cleverness, courage, and trust could make a difference. Even without weapons of mass destruction, humans had changed perceptions across the galaxy. At the same time, humans faced dangers they could not ignore. Cosmic storms, unstable star systems, and remnants of Imperial fleets still posed threats, but every challenge strengthened their skills and their confidence. They learned to navigate through asteroid belts with extreme precision, to anticipate energy pulses from enemy ships, and to coordinate maneuvers under pressure. Each survival story became a lesson, a reminder of their resilience. One day, as humans approached a newly discovered star system, they paused to observe. The planets were uninhabited, but the beauty of the system inspired awe. Humans shared quiet moments of wonder, laughing at small mishaps, pointing out strange formations, and marveling at the endless possibilities of space. It was a reminder that their journey was not just about surviving danger. It was about experiencing the galaxy in all its vastness. For the Empire, the human story became a lesson in humility. They realized that power alone could not control everything. Intelligence, creativity, and courage could challenge the strongest forces in ways technology could not predict. Even fleets designed for domination could not anticipate humans' actions. The humans were not just surviving. They were teaching the galaxy that strategy, adaptability, and spirit mattered just as much as weapons and numbers. The humans continued to laugh, explore, and survive. They did not seek revenge, domination, or fame. Their joy was simple: the thrill of adventure, the satisfaction of clever solutions, and the bonds they shared with one another. They had faced the Empire and emerged not because of size or power, but because of courage, teamwork, and human ingenuity. By now, humans had become legends in whispered stories across star systems. Their laughter echoed in the memories of those who had witnessed them. The Empire had been humbled, realizing that their belief in control was not absolute. And yet humans did not gloat or boast. They moved forward quietly, always exploring, always learning, and always surviving. In the end, the humans' journey was not about victory over the Empire. It was about proving that ordinary beings, with courage, intelligence, and teamwork, could achieve the extraordinary. They had changed the galaxy not through conquest, but through example. They had shown that fear was not inevitable, that obstacles could be overcome, and that the bonds between people were more powerful than fleets or weapons. As human ships drifted through the endless stars, they laughed together, shared discoveries, and prepared for whatever came next. The galaxy had changed because of them. Citizens whispered their tales, commanders reconsidered strategy, and other species looked to them with curiosity and hope. The humans had faced the impossible, survived, and in doing so, inspired the galaxy with the simple, undeniable power of being human. And somewhere in the silence between the stars, human crews celebrated quietly, not for glory, not for fame, but for the journey itself, for courage, for cleverness, for survival, and for the joy of being alive in a universe that was as vast and unpredictable as their spirit. The story of Part 6 was a reminder. The greatest strength in the galaxy was not weapons, not fleets, and not technology. It was the human spirit, the ability to think, adapt, trust, and face challenges with courage and creativity. The humans had survived, inspired, and changed the course of the galaxy forever.